Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us. For those joining us on social media, we welcome you guys tuning in on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and we're about to bring in our friends on Instagram as well. Also, of course, we're going to be bringing in our Amazon audience too. So we're glad you all could join us for today's broadcast. We have a returning guest that has a new edition of her book. I'm excited about that. We're excited to welcome back Theresa Merritt-Watson to our broadcast today. You guys know her as the author of this book, Black Tech, Leaders in Technology. We're going to talk to her about what it's been like for her to see the response to the book and also the way she's been able to make the book interactive as well. So I think you guys are going to really enjoy that too. Going to go ahead and bring in our friends over on Amazon. And we're live with our friends on Amazon Live for today's episode of Cyrus Webb Presents, where we have best-selling author, I should say, Theresa Merritt-Watson is joining us today. She's back with us. She's been gone for a while, but she's back to talk about Black Tech, Leaders in Technology, yesterday, today, and tomorrow. If you guys have not gotten the book before, now's the perfect time. This is an interactive one. Not only do you get some great profiles, you also are able to be a part of it with some great, nice puzzles, not only for the kids, but also for us adults. If you guys are not staying connected with Ms. Merritt-Watson, we'll let you guys know how to do that as well. Ms. Merritt-Watson, welcome back to the broadcast.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm looking forward to it. I enjoy it.
Well, look, I always enjoy speaking with you as well, and I want to say thank you for working with us. We had Ms. Merritt-Watson scheduled to be on our program about a month or so ago, but my mom was having some health challenges, and she was gracious enough to reschedule with us. But it's an appropriate time, ironically, Dr. Ms. Merritt-Watson, because of, coming up at the end of Black History Month, but knowing as your book shows that Black history is a part of American history. I want to begin there. First of all, what has it been like for you to see the response to the new edition of the book?
Well, actually, I've been quite excited that the adults that have been purchasing the book and sharing it with their children and then rereading it and saying, I didn't know these things. So it just gave me more opportunity to really know that I'm headed in the right path of parents giving their kids this kind of knowledge before they go to school, before they leave home, helping them develop a sense of pride. So I can't say anything. I'm totally elated by it.
Yeah. Well, Ms. Merritt-Watson, I've said to you before, but even now, I mean, you and I, we had worked together with the first edition of the book. But when I went on Amazon, and our audience can get it now on Amazon there, as you guys can see, when I went on Amazon and got this one, I love the additions to it. Yes, you have the profiles that we have talked about before, but as I mentioned, this book is truly interactive. I mean, we have everything from an idea of how to be able to match the inventors with different things that they've done. I love the fact, too, that people can be able to color now in this. What made you decide to revamp the book?
Well, one of the things is you can go through and read the book. But until you engage in some things, it don't take hold to you. It's important that the students not just learn about Gladys West, but remember what she actually did. And so everything is a puzzle or a maze, coloring, and engaged in one of the authors and one of the inventors to help you engage more in what you and who they are and what they have done. And so when you color the truck, the ice cream truck or the delivery truck, it's Frederick Jones, and it's easier for you to remember Frederick Jones that way. When you color traffic light, it's easier to remember Garrett Morgan when you do that. Because kids can recite these things, the more they engage in them.
And let's be honest, Ms. Merritt-Watson, we adults too, right? Because, I mean, a lot of them, as I said to you before, I didn't know about the majority of the people who were in this book. And I don't think that's an indictment of anything other than we are not taught it. So let's go back a little bit. When did your own first interest show up when it comes to not only inventors of color, but also the contributions that they have made to the world?
Well, I told you that I had gone to an all-black school when it was segregated, and that is one of my most learning. And so it always the teacher would say, we're not going to use this book, this social studies book. We're going to get one of our own. So they pulled together, and maybe the second grader maybe taught history at 9 o'clock so that the other teacher can use the book at 10 o'clock in another class and that kind of stuff. But when it really when I really started thinking about it, I was like in 7th or 8th grade.
Yeah.
Because when the Black teachers, we had integrated then, but the Black teacher would remind us of some things and depiction that we were seeing. But it didn't really dawn on me till I was in my 30s that there's a lot of work being done to erase the history of Black people when they have done such profound thing. I think it was Acorn that stabilized steel. So now you have these high rises and building, all the greatness is in us. People are taking credit like it belongs to them, but without the invention of Black people, we wouldn't have the Sears Tower, And so there's a lot of things that we would not have. But you didn't know, as I went to college, I majored in business and that kind of stuff and sort of got away from it a little bit. I still read, insisted that my kids read to get their allowance. Langston Hughes, a poem, Paul Laurence Dunbar, they had to recite that just to know the greatness that's in us. So right. It's not something that I stayed close as, I look back now, I said, man, where would I be with it if I had stayed as close to it as I could have? Mm-hmm. But I've always known how important it is for your kids to know. Right. Always.
Yeah. And you designed the book, interestingly enough, it says, and people read the description here on Amazon, for 1st to 3rd graders. However, I think it's great family projects too. Was that part of your hope too, Ms. Merritt-Watson, that as you did with your own children, that us parents would then, well, I'm not a parent, but I'm just saying us parents in general, would then be able to make these projects that we could do with our kids and with our families?
Well, that is the thing, because I started out right in a higher grade, but then I realized that our parents are working, 1, 2 jobs, and things. And if they're able to pick it up and learn something, and I know that parents do not know a lot of this material. And because I was working in a class, the class was 55 to 85, about 100 people, and not one person in the whole entire class knew anybody that was in the book. Mm. Now that simply means that here I am, I got kids that I've sent through a system of not knowing who they are, how great they are, what they're doing, what their contribution has been, which impact their sense of pride, their sense of belonging, their self-esteem. Because if you don't know who you are, people can rip your self-esteem right apart. Yeah. And so this is one of the main reasons that I think that it's important that people just purchase the book for the purpose of understanding what is going on, what has gone on, and what is still going on. Because in my next book, I have some people that have done some profound things in research, and they in their 30s. Mm-hmm. So we're still doing things.
Right. I want to talk about this cover, and you and I talked about it with the previous edition. For those who are just looking at it, again, I have it highlighted for you guys on the Amazon side. If you guys are not joining us on Amazon, you'll find a link with your broadcast that'll bring you over to Amazon. So there you see the young man there, and you see the eagle. And Ms. Merritt-Watson talks about the eagle on page 9 in the book.
Yes.
You can see there. But this is what she said, and this is what I wanted to bring up, Ms. Merritt-Watson. You said the eagle's characteristics are the same traits we need for critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity. The inventors featured in this book possess these traits, transferring their knowledge and experiences to create inventions we still use today. Then this is the part, and you and I have talked about this, but I think to see it in black and white is so important. Some of these inventors are still with us, continue to inspire future generations. Some of these inventors,
yes.
Merritt-Watson. What was it like for you to show not only, of course, those who have passed that made contributions, but also those that are still alive and being able to be recognized for what they've done?
Well, it's always interesting to meet some of the inventors, because they still spry and excited about the quality of their work. And my goal next month, actually, I'm meeting 2 of the new inventors. And it's just refreshing for our kids to be able to see that this is still going on, because right now we're in a climate that does not advocate for Black history, and for us to know how important it is for us to be able to do the things that we do. We continue to be outstanding in the space of invention, in music, in art, in theater, aviation. We are great in those spaces. So I don't want our kids to think that we've done something, that the ancestors have done something and nothing else is happening.
Right. So true. Felicia Brookins, hello to you over there on Facebook. She said that is a beautiful cover. It really is. And hello to you, Robert Blake Whitehill. I see you over there on IG. Glad to be able to see you. And I think it's pronounced Inna. Inna, hello to you over there on IG as well. Let me reset real quick and say, for those who are just tuning in, welcome. You're watching Cyrus Webb Presents here on Amazon Live, but we are simulcasting on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and on Instagram with my friend, best-selling author Theresa Merritt-Watson. She's the author of this book, Black Tech, Leaders in Technology. Had an opportunity to work with her campaign on the first edition of this book. Now it's been re-released. It's interactive now with puzzles and things to be able to get your mind going. We're going to talk about some of the inventors she features in this book, but if you guys have not gotten your copy, now is the time. You can get it here on Amazon. And again, for those who are not joining us on the Amazon platform, there's a link that'll bring you guys over to Amazon. And also, of course, make sure you guys jot down if you guys have any questions or comments from Ms. Merritt-Watson. Put those in the chat as well. I want to go through 2 of the inventors that I think our audience may not be aware of. You mentioned one of them a moment ago, and it's on page 27, Ms. Merritt-Watson, and that is Frederick Jones. He invented the refrigeration truck used to transport blood, food, and medicine during World War II. He lived into 1961. He was self-taught. I always pick out the self-taught ones because I can relate to that. He's a self-taught mechanical and electrical engineer. What impressed you the most about Frederick Jones, and what do you hope readers of the book know about his contribution, Ms. Merritt-Watson?
Well, I was definitely impressed by Frederick Jones, and the reason being, he was delivering medicine. This is how all this came about. He was delivering medicine. And by the time noontime or 1 o'clock came, the medicine would get hot and it was no longer useful. And back in the days when he was delivering medicine, I can envision consequences coming because people losing money on this medicine, and no fault of his own. And so when he invented the refrigeration, to be able to hold the medicine. That's the reason why we have the ice cream box and the ice cream truck and the refrigeration truck. His goal initially was to find a way to preserve the medicine. That was his goal. And so that's why I really like him. And then he was a self-taught engineer. So he got into it and was trying to figure out how does this work? He understood it, but it doesn't really say who he engaged with to be able to solve this problem. And so as you dig deeper as a kid, this is another important thing. I've given you enough about the individual for you to go and do some further research on him. But from the understanding, it talked about him creating this. Does not talk about the method. So Frederick Jones has several patents on refrigeration. And I think that when the students and the parents say, go do an assignment, give your kids something to do, you can pick out for them to dig a little deeper. And you will see that too will impact and develop a sense of, I belong here. And that's what you want to give.
Right. Another great one, of course, space is always in the news, Ms. Merritt-Watson. Miss Mary W. Jackson on page 25, for those who have their copy of the new book. She was a mathematician and aerospace engineer, was the first Black female engineer at NASA. She passed away in 2005. How did you find out about Ms. Jackson and her contributions?
Well, actually, she's part of Hidden Figures. But and I think she graduated from Hampton. And so one of the things, because 5 people in our family went to Hampton, I I have a list of the people that have done some really great things at the Hampton University that came out of Hampton University. So that was another added factor as well. But one of the things you pay attention to, the things that NASA did and the great things that they would not have accomplished based on, unless it was for those Black women and men, Black men in that environment. And so we have been a staple in so many different areas of success for this country. But people don't think about, when they think about NASA, do you think about some Jackson? No, you don't think about Jackson, because they only show certain areas, certain things. It doesn't reflect us. And so it was important to put her in the book and put other people and things that they have made. Now, her math, even though we talked about mathematics and her mathematical skills and her being the first engineer, there was quite a few things that she did at NASA that actually, from a hardware point, that actually helped NASA be successful. And we would talk about that again in one of the other books.
Yeah. Catherine Grant, hello to you over there on IG. Glad you could be able to join us. And again, appreciate you guys over there on YouTube as well. If you guys have a question or comment for Ms. Merritt-Watson, put those in the chat. Let me tell you one thing I love about what you've done in this new edition, Ms. Merritt-Watson, because I'm a big believer in writing down your goals and dreams. You have a page here, create your invention. Write about your passion, interest, and invention. I'm curious, what made you decide to add this in the new edition to the book?
Well, as you know, I've had people to actually go through the book, and one of my associates, I should say, talked about, asked me, we were talking about the, people passion and things like that, and writing it down. And so I came up with that. That should be a page in the book, because everybody have something that they, they might not, it may not turn into an invention, but they have like a passion for it, and they create it, or they might learn something from their parents that their parents is doing. So specifically, if your parent is an avid cook, or your parent is, it may not be cooking that you put together, but it may be some kind of chemical that you end up putting it together. They have a direct relationship. Or your father is working on your car, and you end up being an artist. One of the people in my book, in another book, he worked on the cars a lot, fixing his own car, always fixing his car. So he majored in art. And what happened? He works at Ford dealership on the Mustang and Mustang design. So there's always things that that you need to write down. This is what I was taught about writing stuff down. When you write it down, it brings it to life. If you don't write it down, then it always just with you, it stays in your mind and your mind only. When you write it down, it brings it to life. And I want the kids to start bringing things to life.
Yeah. And I'm sure that too, Ms. Merritt-Watson, I've mentioned before, us adults too, we don't do that enough. We put these timelines on ourselves. If we haven't done something by 20 or 30 or 40, we say it's too late. But I think what these individuals show us is that, when it comes to your imagination, there doesn't have to be an expiration date on that. And I think that is the great thing about it. What is your hope, Ms. Merritt-Watson? I know you've always been passionate about getting this book into the schools. You want to do speaking about this. What is your hope, though, when people pick up Black tech? What do you hope it does for the reader?
Well, it depends on where they are in their life. Some people are really into Black history right now, but my real goal is for parents to learn Black history. I want people to stop sending their kids out into the world without, Black people I'm talking about, without knowing and appreciating the greatness within them. And you can't talk about the greatness in other environments, because people are not going to uplift you like it coming from home. I want this to be, like a requirement for every family to make sure their kids understand who they are. I think not, and I haven't researched this, but I think if you know that there's greatness in you, then you'll start trying to reach some of those milestones, some of those things, and you build your self-esteem and your self-confidence. Now, Cyrus, that we talk about we losing our kids by third grade.
Yeah.
And it's really important that we know that first, second, and third grade, they've given us maybe 5 or 6 African Americans, and they pretty much are the same constant people. And we start losing our kids. They say, oh, he's a behavior problem. Now he's in special ed under the behavior model, and people can't figure out why. He's in a space he doesn't see himself. He doesn't, he doesn't relate to it. There's nothing there that says, I belong here.
Right.
But if you as a parent send your kid out and they know that they belong in this space, then that's where their behavior and their approach to things in school would be entirely different. And I think I gave you this example. I have a friend where his father runs the chemistry department, one of those science departments, and he's the chair. I have another friend where the father works in blue collar, but he's always working on his car, always working on his car. Now, there's no difference between the math that's required for working on your car that's required for you to learn about chemistry. The math is, at that grade level, at their grade level, they're learning, first, second, third grade, they're learning the same math. So then this little boy gets in the third grade and they say, oh, your math skills are good. Well, you're not coming in, you're expecting for somebody where the father is a chemist, run a chemistry lab for his son math to be good, but you're not expecting, even though they're engaging in the same thing. The problem to me with our kids is that we don't nurture, a lot of us, not everybody, nurture our kids' passion, which is absolutely necessary. And the passion could be nurtured in school, because you don't do everybody. But if Johnny tells you what you like, what he likes, you can mention that in some of your teaching. And then Johnny know you're talking about them. And I have talked to a teacher, and she says we were just walking down the hall, and she says to me, Theresa, I asked this one kid, what did he do for the summer and I wanted him to share with the class, because in my class, he's the only one that have done anything worthwhile during the summer. So I took a step back. Now, keep in mind, there's nobody but Black people in her class. Mm-hmm. And so I said to her, why would you think that the other people couldn't bring anything to the table for the summer? Well, they didn't do anything. Of course they did something. So we had to have that kind of dialogue. Granted, she was Caucasian, she's white. She still is, but so I said she was, but she still is. And but the problem with that is that you allow, some people would just have agreed with her and say, oh yeah, their parents do X, Y, Z, and so forth and so on. But I had to, even to this day, she thanked me because I had to remind her that no matter what they did during the summer, it's a learning experience.
Yeah.
And so we do still have teachers that think because you come from a low wealth environment, you only can bring certain things to the table. You can bring anything to the table.
Right.
That helps you grow. Right. And so we have to start demanding that you nurture that, not all this other stuff that we got in school. We don't need all that other stuff, but we need the basic. Martin Luther King says, anytime that you get rid of problem solving and creativity in school, you've lost the children. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Cyrus, I could go on and on and on about.
Look, I think you can. But no, I know your passion you have for it. Jesus Black Man, hello to you. He says, talk that talk, doc. But he also says, and I'm probably going to get this name wrong, Dr. Kunjufu mentioned that in his workshops for educators. I'm not familiar with who that is. He's this Black man. I'm going to have to look them up. Michael Martin, I see you over there on IG. Charmaine, hello to you over there on IG. She said, we definitely have to nurture their gifts. She also said that's good, and I think she was laughing at you saying that the teacher was still white. I was worried about that too. Look, we have some shapeshifters around here. But Merritt-Watson, I'm so excited we had a chance. I'm so glad we've been able to stay connected through social media. We're going to let our audience know how to be able to stay connected with you. But I do want to remind our audience, the book is here on Amazon. Make sure you guys get your copy of Black Tech Leaders in Technology. I learned so much from this book as a 49-year-old that I did not know. And I think, that is the great thing about books like this and the work that Ms. Merritt-Watson is doing, is that there's so much to learn about things we take for granted, things we use like the elevator. And, it's so powerful to be able to see. So Ms. Merritt-Watson, let our audience know, how can they stay connected with you?
I want to say one thing quickly. In the book, I want people to know that there's people that do not have a degree. They're self-taught engineers. There's HBCU. We focus on the HBCU because at one point in time they wanted to get rid of it. Now they're not funding it. And we do list the PWI, but it was important to make sure that people know that their greatness come out of HBCUs. It come out of colleges in general, but the HBCUs, I have to continue to highlight them, and I have to continue because I want to make sure that those people that do not have the desire to go to college, they don't have to go to college to be successful, to be strong in their invention. They still can invent and be great. Yeah. Oh, and so the question is, how can we get to it? So of course, you can go on Amazon, Amazon.com, and we have the Synergy Network, LLC.com. You can purchase the book. And for Instagram and YouTube, I do some videos on Instagram. Cyrus, what I wanted to say, on Patreon, we do weekly lessons about inventors, not just the one in the book, because we want to start keeping people up to date about Black history. And so if you go on Patreon and Blackin, BLACKIN, you will see that. You can sign up for that. But you can go to YouTube and Instagram and type Black Tech Book. That's the name on YouTube and Instagram. And you get a lot of information. When the videos are like 1 minute, 2 minutes. The ones on Patreon is a little longer, but on Instagram and YouTube, they're short just to keep the people engaged. They're short so that if you want your child to learn a Black fact every day, you can hold him for a minute.
Gotcha.
And so those are the things I want. And the other campaign I want to say is that we're asking individuals and corporations to buy 10 books because I want to be able to give it to the urban and rural African-American families. That's what I want to be able to do. Okay.
All right. Well, look, Miss Merritt-Watson hasn't been with us for a while. She's going to take advantage of every minute she has. But Miss Merritt-Watson, I love talking with you. Hello to you, Ellen. Good to see you over there on Facebook. Again, everyone, get your copy of Black Tech. Michael Smith, my brother, says, yes, good information. It really is, Michael. It's a lot of learning here. Miss Merritt-Watson, looking forward to our next chat together.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said, looking forward to our next chat together.
Oh, I'm looking for it. I have fun with you every time. Yeah. I just, I enjoy learning and people understanding the importance of knowing what Black people have done and are still doing.
Exactly. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.